Welcome to Slashreel Reviews, the channel where we show you unique perspectives on your favourite movies. Today's review is the James Cameron masterpiece The Terminator from 1984. Stay through the course of the video to hear a rare story about James Cameron, a director that few people know of. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment down below, and I'll do my best to respond to you. If you haven't seen this film before, be aware there are very heavy spoilers ahead. No AI was used in the development of this review. We open in a dystopian future, distant for the 1980s but not so distant from now. The year is 2029 in LA, and it is a destroyed wasteland. Jet-propelled drones are attacking the last vestiges of humanity, tank-like robots crushing piles of skulls. From the get-go, the theme of the film is conveyed to us. That is how technology is a potential destructive threat to the human race. The contrast between mankind and the artificial. Screen text comes up to tell us that the machines rose up from the ashes of a nuclear fire. More on that later, but this once again establishes the dangers of technology. The title sequence reflects artificiality with its metallic coloured text. The music itself has metallic banging sounds with a beat somewhat like the drums of war. The earliest shot of the skulls being crushed by a machine is later mirrored expertly in the following scene with an 80s dumpster truck, showing us we are not too far from this dystopian future. The villain of the film, the Terminator, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, appears out of a series of lightning flashes from a portal. He walks towards the LA skyline without clothes as if he has been born, as ominous music plays. His strength and durability is immediately shown when he punches his hand for a punk gang member that refuses to give up his clothes. The Terminator survives a stab wound without even an injured reaction. The cold, robotic and emotionless performance from Schwarzenegger is nothing short of amazing and terrifying for the time. You truly believe there is a machine behind this skin. His only mission is to kill. Contrast this to the moment our hero, future soldier Carl Reese, played by Michael Biehn, appears through a similar time portal of light. He groans in pain, struggling to get up, and runs from the police after stealing clothes off a homeless man. The female protagonist of the film is Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton, and we first see her riding a moped to the diner where she works, with calm piano music in the background. She is presented as a clumsy, innocent girl next door, taking abuse from customers. This changes in the major character arc by the end of the film, where she toughens up, becoming the final girl, so to speak, to take on the seemingly unstoppable Terminator. The look and feel of this film is nothing short of a work of genius by director James Cameron. It has visual elements of the film noir's low-key lighting and shadows. The gritty settings and physical effects look grounded and real, and therefore more effective. There's no CGI, everything feels tangible and, in my opinion, superior to what feels like the watered-down sequels after Terminator 2. The full-size animatronics of the Terminator was developed by Stan Winston, based on a drawing Cameron had done after a nightmare. It resembles a human skeleton but with red, evil eyes, the physical embodiment of death, and what some believe may happen to humanity if we merge with machines and AI. One of the best scenes in the film takes place in the Tech Noir nightclub, the name linking the film noir to technology. The film noir was a filmmaking style with stark contrasting lighting, cynical characters, and the use of flashbacks. We can see elements of this in this movie. The Terminator pursues his victim, Sarah Connor, into this public setting. The Terminator is undeterred by the crowd and aims his gun with the red dot laser pointer at her head. The redness similar to that of the Terminator's real eye colour. She is literally in his sights. The scene peaks with a shootout between the Terminator and Carl Reese. Carl reveals himself as her protector. It is then that the famous line, "Come with me if you want to live," is said for the first time. After an elaborate chase, Carl reveals to Sarah that there was a nuclear war started by the machines to wipe out humanity, with only a handful of humans left to fight back in resistance. This is a reflection of the very real threat of nuclear annihilation on the back of people's minds during the Cold War of the time, and perhaps more prevalent today with the dual dangers of nuclear war with Russia and the growing fears of enhancements in AI technology suppressing humanity. Carl also reveals that the Terminator has come back in time to the 80s to kill Sarah, the mother of future resistance hero John Connor. The Terminator finds them again, resulting in another chase that ends in a car crash, with the Terminator escaping. Sarah and Reese are left in a car that won't restart with the police surrounding them. Reese is arrested and brought to the police station in custody and questioned by criminal psychologist Dr. Silberman. One line of dialogue links humanity's doomsday to the present day when Reese mentions the enemy is
A computer defense system built for SAC NORAD by Cyberdyne Systems.
NORAD is a joint real-world organisation of Canada and the United States that provides aerospace warning, air sovereignty and defence for North America. SAC, Strategic Air Command, served as the bombardment arm of the United States Air Force and as a major part of the nuclear deterrent against Russia between 1946 and 1992. Believable specifics like this are key to making the film seem more realistic to the audience. Reese is ridiculed when he tells the truth and is called a loon. The joke's on them though when the Terminator goes full god mode, breaking into the police station with a car and shooting across the corridors, taking the short officers out one by one effortlessly. The prelude to this epic scene is also the first time we hear the famous line,
"I'll be back,"
just before he crashes his car into the entrance to break in. After narrowly escaping the police station, Sarah and Carl seek refuge under a bridge, with Sarah asking him to tell her where he is from. We witness more of the dystopian future from Reese's memory, with the soldiers of the Resistance entering a secret makeshift underground habitat. The remaining survivors of humanity are impoverished, eating rats, and children warming themselves by a burning television. This is a dark mirror of the children of the 80s gathering around the TV set, normally used for entertainment purposes obviously, and not for survival. Carl studies a Polaroid photo of Sarah Connor from the past. Suddenly, a Terminator disturbs this moment of peace as it infiltrates the base. The dogs alert them to this. They are a man's best friend after all. This vicious Terminator immediately shoots up everything in sight indiscriminately. Note that even though the Terminator is firing laser bolts, it has the sound of traditional gunfire, not your stereotypical laser-like science fiction-y sound. This bullet firing sound is more familiar to the audience, reminding us of current gun weaponry, which makes for a more dramatic scene. Carl rushes to the defense of the habitat with his gun, but to no effect as he is pushed over by an explosion. The Polaroid of Sarah burns in the fire in front of him, concluding with a dissolving transition back to the present day, with her sleeping on his lap, suggesting her fate will end in a fire. I promised at the start of the video to tell you a rare story about James Cameron, the director. In the early 80s, the visual effects artists on the low-budget film Galaxy of Terror, Bob Skotak and his brother Dennis, went to a pizza restaurant with Bill Pearson, the talented model maker who worked on the films Alien, Casino Royale and Moon, among others. He has since sadly passed away, but had told me the following story. The Skotak brothers brought other people along to the restaurant and asked Bill Pearson many questions about model making, and there was this one guy opposite who said not 2 words. Anyway, Bill wanted to impress the others, so he paid for all their pizzas. It was only years later he realised the guy who had been sitting quietly and attentively opposite him was none other than Jim Cameron, who was the production designer on Galaxy of Terror at the time. Bill had jokingly said that Jim Cameron still owed him a pizza. But it's interesting that one of the biggest directors of our time, Jim Cameron, had moments of being completely quiet and only listened, akin to another famous director, George Lucas, in the early days of his career. Back to the film review. Carl and Sarah take residence in a motel to hide and build explosives from household chemicals. Later that night, Carl confesses his love for Sarah and they have romantic intercourse. This is probably the cheesiest moment of the film, but necessary for the plot. The conception of John Connor is what will eventually help humanity itself fight back. Obviously, natural conception in itself being something a machine can never do. We are again reminded of the difference between artificiality and mankind.
I have an exceptionally large mind.
Marvin,
All right. What do you want me to do?
go down to number 3 entry bay and bring the 2 aliens up here under surveillance.
Just that.
The Terminator tracks them down, but the couple have escaped in the nick of time, commandeering a vehicle. The Terminator follows on his motorbike. I've always loved the music through the tunnel segment of this chase scene. Anyway, Carl is shot and injured in the chase, leaving Sarah to take control of the situation. She rams the car into the Terminator successfully, but in the process flips the car. The Terminator has half his flesh torn off his face, revealing his artificial metal skull and glowing red eye, as he steals an oil truck that just collided with him. The prosthetics on his face look realistic to this day. Sarah drags Carl out of the upturned car just in time as the Terminator crushes it with the stolen oil truck. The couple are now running on foot. Carl manages to sneak an explosive into the back of the truck and it explodes. The Terminator gets out and collapses in flames, its last remaining skin burning off, leaving behind the appearance of a burnt to crisp skull. Sarah approaches Carl and we are made to feel the ordeal is over. Calming music plays. But it's a false ending. Just as Carl and Sarah embrace, the Terminator rises from the flames. Note that this visual was what James Cameron had a nightmare of when he came up with the idea of this cybernetic creature. Sarah and Carl escape into a vacant factory. The Terminator is in close pursuit. Although the effects look clunky by today's standard, there is something about the stop motion movement that looks unnatural and machine-like in itself. Carl turns on the factory machines to act as a distraction to the pursuing Terminator, as once again we are reminded of the link between 1980s technology not being too far away from the technology that is trying to kill Sarah. Carl almost collapses completely from his injuries. It is Sarah who tells him,
On your feet, soldier!
she is becoming the main character, motivating their survival. Carl attacks the Terminator with a metal bar full force, but it has no effect and he is struck down. In an act of heroism, he lights a fuse to an explosive and waits for the machine to approach closely, fully aware the blast will likely kill him. The explosive is cleverly placed onto the Terminator and it goes off, seemingly destroying it. Reese's final act as protector. It feels like it's finally over. Sarah has a metal shard stuck in her leg from the explosion and painfully pulls it out. Unable to stand, she crawls over to Carl and discovers he was killed in the blast. Somber music plays, but this is clever misdirection as the torso of the Terminator suddenly rises. The Terminator crawls after Sarah over Carl's lifeless body, accompanied by screeching horror-style music. It becomes a crawling chase through the machinery of the factory, the Terminator relentless in its task to kill her no matter how beaten up it is at this point. She escapes desperately, crawling for a large hydraulic press machine and closes the shutters just in time. The Terminator desperately tries to grab her and is centimeters away from succeeding, building up the suspense. Sarah finds an on button and the hydraulic press machine activates, slowly crushing the desperate Terminator. Electricity emits out of it just as it did when it was born, a visual link to the Terminator's first scene. Its red eye slowly dims out as it is crushed by this other powerful machine. It's finally over. Some time passes with Sarah driving a car to a gas station on the way to Mexico with a pistol accompanied by a dog. This shows us her character arc is complete from a seemingly meek waitress into a prepared, capable, and strong individual. She is recording her voice to make sure her future son, John, can hear it when he is older. Meanwhile, a young boy takes a Polaroid of her. He is speaking Spanish, demanding $5 in return for the photo. This is translated to English by an older man beside them. She haggles it down, and we discover the photo is the same one Carl Reese was looking at of Sarah in the future. The old man at the gas station translates the boy again and says, "There's a storm coming." Sarah looks on with conviction and says, "I know." It powerfully ends with her driving towards the storm clouds down the long road in the desert. The storm obviously representing the ominous future that lies ahead. The end. I rate this movie 5 out of 5, a rewatchable masterpiece. Thanks for watching this all the way through. There will be more reviews in the near future, so don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment down below if you enjoyed the video. Please like and share, and remember, no AI was used in the making of this review. Thanks for watching.